We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
This Turning Point conference, the were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and the cigar.
I think it's important that every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against these against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
He's going to hunt you down. He's going to find out what's going on. And that's good. That's good for everybody. That's how you should be looking at this. Like, wow, we have a brilliant mind that is examining these really corrupt and goofy systems and bringing in a bunch of psychopath wizards. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a wealth.
Joe Rogan didn't just weigh in, he detonated a media grenade the second. Charlie Kirk filed a jaw-dropping $100 million lawsuit against The View. Like clockwork, Rogan swooped in, then lit the internet ablaze. This wasn't your typical TV spat, it was an all-out war of words, and Rogan brought a verbal flamethrower to the battlefield. Kirk's legal move wasn't some dramatic gesture, it was a direct shot across the bow. And Rogan saw it for what it was: a challenge, a gauntlet, and a cultural battle cry wrapped into one seismic moment. Kirk, the face of Turning Point USA, had finally snapped after The View lobbed careless accusations about his youth conference. But instead of firing off tweets, he fired off legal documents. We're talking about 5,000 attendees, many still teenagers thrust into controversy by TV personalities chasing applause. That's why Rogan didn't just laugh, he erupted, calling out the absurdity and fury in equal measure.
Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to
To Rogan, the whole thing reeked of cheap theatrics, phony outrage wrapped in shallow takes, all at the expense of young people trying to find their voice. He didn't hold back, mocking The View as a daytime circus that hurled insults with abandon, but collapsed the minute someone pushed back. The kicker? Kirk wasn't looking for a retraction, he was aiming for $100 million in damages. That wasn't a light slap, that was a legal thunderclap. And Rogan, he'd oven, baring his teeth and tearing into the show's double standards with savage precision. His smirk said it all as he ridiculed their sudden quiet. Funny how loud they were until someone threatened their bank accounts, he said. Then he torched their so-called apology a clumsy, half-hearted statement Rogan compared to the plot twist in a bad soap opera. They're not sorry they said it, he quipped. They're sorry they got caught. That soundbite alone went viral, and even The View's loyal defenders struggled to spin it. This wasn't just partisanship, it was a matter of honesty. Rogan's platform didn't just respond, it exposed. And when he replayed Whoopi Goldberg's odd rant about Biden jailing Republicans, he didn't need to say much, his stunned expression said it all.
I mean, The View has to be, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb, but Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it and it's nothing.
Just
there.
Go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do.
Reactions ranged from stunned silence to roaring laughter, but no one looked away. Then Rogan took aim at Sunny Hostin, criticizing her sneering attitude toward Americans without college degrees. He called it elitist garbage dressed up as concern. You don't need a diploma to have common sense, Rogan shouted. Some of the sharpest people I know never stepped foot in a lecture hall. And with that, the conversation shifted. This was no longer about one lawsuit, it became about a show that routinely shames dissenters and silences uncomfortable truths. Rogan wasn't done. He dragged The View for their habit of bulldozing conservative guests only to cry foul when challenged. People from all political stripes applauded. That's what made this moment so powerful, not just viral, but volcanic. The legal threat, the awkward apology, and Rogan's verbal beatdown turned into a media inferno. As headlines about the lawsuit exploded, Rogan kept piling on, clear-eyed and unscripted. Watching clips of the show, he scoffed at their fake moral posturing. They act like they're society's conscience, he said, until someone hits them with legal reality. Then they freeze. The hypocrisy was undeniable, and Rogan made sure no one missed it. He laughed at how fast their tone flipped once that cease and desist arrived. They love to label everyone, he said, but say the word damages, and suddenly it's like they forgot how to talk. This wasn't just a PR mess, it was a televised implosion, and Rogan held up the mirror.
Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
You know, just let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail. Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So.
He joked that watching The View squirm was like watching a raccoon caught in headlights wild, confused and painfully unconvincing. Audiences loved it. Memes flooded timelines. Hashtags like #SueTheView and #Rogan Roast shot to the top. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk didn't budge. He didn't want weak apologies or vague walkbacks, he wanted real accountability. And Rogan stood behind him the whole time. They dragged teenagers into a smear job. He said, and now they think they can clean it up with a tweet. Not happening. Then he blasted the mainstream media for treating the whole thing like a mix-up. This wasn't confusion. Rogan snapped. It was character assassination wearing a press badge. He called out The View's pattern, consistently singling out conservatives, then acting shocked when blowback hits. He even reminded viewers of how they treated Meghan McCain. They brought her on just to mock her every week, he said. Rogan made it clear this lawsuit wasn't just about Kirk. It was about every conservative voice the show had tried to steamroll, every student dragged into controversy, and every falsehood brushed off in the name of ratings. Rogan dubbed it the reckoning daytime TV didn't see coming. As clips of Whoopi and Sonny reacting to the lawsuit went viral, viewers saw not confidence but fear. Rogan called some hosts overpaid actors in a daytime soap, pretending to care while dodging accountability. The cracks had been there for years. Rogan just made sure everyone saw them.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in, you know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Meghan McCain and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just, it's a bizarre show.
You can see it in their eyes, Rogan said. They know they messed up bad and now they're terrified of what's coming. But what shocked everyone? There was no clapback, no angry rebuttal, not even a limp tweet, just silence. For a show built on big mouths and bolder opinions, The View suddenly had nothing to say. That silence. It was deafening. Behind closed doors, chaos was reportedly erupting. Producers scrambled, emergency meetings were held, lawyers were on speed dial, and damage control became the new daytime drama. Insiders whispered that some hosts were genuinely rattled, not just over the lawsuit's potential outcome, but over what it might unearth. Because this wasn't just about losing in court, it was about losing face in front of millions. Rogan smelled the fear instantly. You can fake confidence, he said, but your body always gives you away. Their mouths are moving, but their posture is screaming panic. Even die-hard fans of the show were stunned. Some admitted they'd never seen the host so visibly shaken, and Rogan, ever the showman, turned it into a punchline. It's like Watching reality TV get sued for becoming too real, he joked, only this time. The stakes weren't just ratings, they were reputational ruin. While Kirk calmly tightened his legal case, Rogan kept up the heat, torching every deflection with the precision of a sniper. This isn't about left or right, he said. It's about basic decency. And apparently, they can't even spell that anymore. As lawsuit filings, video clips, and Rogan's commentary flooded the media, public curiosity exploded. 1. Clip went especially viral, Whoopi Goldberg musing aloud that Biden could imprison Republicans if he wanted. Rogan stared into the camera, hit pause, and asked, "How the hell is this real?"
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double
the
X.
Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's for that one. It's rough.
Let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has that. He has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
But it wasn't just outrage, it was comedic demolition. Rogan's takedown hit so hard because it wasn't exaggeration, it was exposing how far off the rails the show had gone. As the clip tore through Twitter, YouTube, and every podcast feed imaginable, Rogan's commentary became the cultural centerpiece. Even outlets that typically avoided the fray were now asking, had The View finally pushed too far? Could a podcast and a defamation suit really rock one of the most recognizable daytime shows in America? Rogan wasn't done. Now they want to play the victim, he said in a follow-up episode. But where was that empathy when they dragged a bunch of kids into their ideological mess? He reminded listeners that these weren't celebrities, they were teens and college students, many still forming their views, suddenly branded as villains by a TV show desperate for applause. You don't use kids as political bait, he said, and then pretend it's journalism. His words struck a nerve. Parents, teachers, and even apolitical viewers started paying attention. It was no longer just about Charlie Kirk or conservatism, it was about accountability. In a weak attempt to course correct, one host mumbled through a vague, awkward clarification on air and Rogan pounced. "You hear that?" He laughed. "That's the sound of someone trying to rewrite history mid-broadcast. Doesn't work." The more The View tried to walk it back, the more fuel they gave Rogan. His podcast exploded with engagement, comments, shares, reactions from people who never even watched the show. Then came the gut punch. Rogan told his audience that when media starts labeling citizens based on political alignment, it's not entertainment anymore, it's manipulation. He mocked the show's whiplash morality. One day, high horse indignation. The next, sheepish backtracking. That's not journalism, he snapped. It's emotional clickbait with commercial breaks. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk's legal team quietly moved into high gear. Discovery was coming, and whispers of what might surface behind closed doors had The View holding its breath.
Culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side, and if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do, and no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge, and on that bridge they'll see RFK, they'll see Elon.
That's what really had them nervous. This lawsuit wasn't just a publicity problem, it was a powder keg. One wrong step and the whole facade could crack wide open. Rogan could barely contain his glee. "Picture those depositions," he said, grinning. "Picture what slips out when people are under oath." It sent a jolt through the entertainment world. This wasn't just tabloid drama, it was a reckoning for daytime TV. Social media exploded. While late-night comedians conveniently avoided the subject, worried they might stumble into the same legal trap. But Rogan didn't flinch. I don't Hide behind cue cards or sponsors, he said. I say what's real, even if it burns a little. And burn it did. Viewers began calling The View a dinosaur out of touch, out of ideas, and now dangerously close to extinction. Some demanded apologies, others wanted resignations. But the consensus was clear. The show had taken a serious hit. Rogan's commentary wasn't just mockery, it was a brutal dose of truth, served with sarcasm. And the more they ignored him, the more his audience grew. He pointed out the pattern: attack first, apologize later, then act like nothing happened. Only this time, he said, somebody brought receipts and a legal invoice. That invoice sent shockwaves. If a TV show could be sued for defaming non-public figures, where did the line get drawn? Rogan called it a new chapter in media. Accountability. And millions nodded along. Viewers were done with moral grandstanding from people who never paid a price. As the lawsuit rolled forward, ABC's lawyers worked overtime, but it was too late to undo the reputational fallout. The View wasn't just bruised, it was hemorrhaging. And Joe Rogan wasn't letting the spotlight drift. This was bigger than one episode gone wrong. It was a full-blown cultural event, a lawsuit turned spectacle where truth, spin, and media manipulation all collided. What's next for The View? No one knows. But one thing's clear: they won't be so quick to fling wild accusations again. Not after Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk made lying on live TV a luxury.